Tonight I am honoured, truly honoured, to have the opportunity to reflect for a few moments on the contribution which Rotary makes to our community and to celebrate the achievements of this community of Paul Harris Fellows. The award is not given lightly. It has to be earned and is generally awarded in recognition of a sustained and meritorious service to the community that fulfills the ideals of Rotary for the betterment of humanity. Not limited to Rotarians, can be awarded by a club to any person who, in the eyes of the club president and board at the time, fulfills the requirements and reflects in their life and work and contribution to the community the ideals that Paul Harris espoused when he created the Rotary movement all those many years ago in Chicago. And each nomination means that $1,000 is donated by your club to the Rotary Foundation to continue its humanitarian work worldwide. And many of you know, I guess, that a seminal experience in my life was my selection as a Rotary Ambassadorial Scholar nearly 40 years ago. What happened to that winsome lass I ask as I look in the mirror each morning? The program develops leadership, qualities in young people that can in turn prepare them to address the issues of social justice and humanity. And for me, the experience was truly life-affirming and life-changing. As I've said, some of you have heard me say this before, but I discovered in myself qualities of adaptability, resilience, tolerance. I gained an understanding of the qualities needed for leadership. I gained and developed political awareness, a thirst for social justice. I began to understand, through association with Rotarians and observing their impact on their communities, of the power of being a part of something that was larger than myself. And as I worked my way around the Rotary communities of Kentucky, which is where my fellowship was made tenable, it seemed like the back of beyond to me, but actually, in fact, it was one of the best experiences of my life. I couldn't have been in a better situation to take advantage of all that Rotary had to offer through that experience and through the contacts that I made there that enabled me to do an amazing number of interesting things and meet some wonderful people, iconic in their communities, Rotarians and others, who were doing extraordinary things in their community for the betterment of that community. And I was lucky enough to be in the presence of people like Rose Kennedy, fabulous story that happened upon her one day in one afternoon in June in Hyannisport, little old lady walking down the road. I thought, she looks like a local, we'll ask her where the Kennedy compound is. And now I have this fabulous photograph of Rose Kennedy. You know, she regularly made the best dressed lists in America, and here she was in old blue jeans, rolled up about that much at the bottom and pinned up with safety pins, and in a red coat with a button missing. And we walked around the grounds of the compound there with her for about an hour, and truly in the presence of a remarkable, remarkable woman. And Rotary made those kinds of connections available to me. And I returned to New Zealand with a renewed sense of purpose in my life, and the exposure to the Rotary movement gave me, as it has done for each and every single one of you, an opportunity to make a real difference to my community and to add a rich dimension to my life, as it has done and continues to do, particularly now in my work as an ombudsman. For what I do in that role is about ensuring administrative justice, procedural fairness, establishing the truth, protecting the rights of citizens to have access to information that will enable them to participate fully in the life of this country. And that's not too far away, is it, from the Rotary four-way test of the things we think, say and do. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships, or in my context, better, stronger communities? Will it be beneficial to all concerned? I've talked before about hearing an interview with Tom Henderson, a Rotarian and a former Royal Navy search and rescue diver, talking about how he conceived the shelter box, a tool for first-line survival assistance in a disaster. And a couple of things he said have really stayed with me. He described the philosophy behind action on the ground as keeping it simple and doing it now. And as we think about all the activities of Rotary that we engage in, isn't that the hallmark of our effectiveness? Keeping it simple and doing it now. And in talking about Rotary's ability to deliver this and other programs, he said, what other group in the world has 32,000 officers around the world to call on for help. That's a remarkable thought when you think about it, a remarkable strength that we can mobilise as Rotarians around the world to link hands across oceans, across political and ideological boundaries, geographical boundaries, to link hands in times of trouble to make the world a better place. And I often think that Rotary, in the end, is going to be the glue that holds the world together in a very real sense. He affirmed the unique ability Rotary has to be greater than the sum of its parts, and because of its universality, to immediately deploy the capacity and capability of local Rotarians to meet local needs effectively in times of crisis. I was struck again by the force for good that Rotary is everywhere. The values that we share, the breadth of our humanitarian activities, the can-do capacity of Rotarians everywhere is an inspiration. Helping to reduce poverty or disease, providing clean water supplies, establishing sanitation systems, or building basic homes for people, as we do in the Pacific. Hilariously, if William Somerville's slides and descriptions are to be believed and seen and experienced, but having fun doing good. Every day here and around the world, Rotary is reaffirming its goals, developing new programs in response to need, providing educational opportunities for future leaders, and facing the challenge of renewing itself to remain relevant in a changing world. And I think that's the challenge for all of us. For us as Paul Harris Fellows to give back to our clubs, to be the kind of elder statespersons that we can be in our clubs, and from our experience and our length of time with the club, to help and think about renewal, to help and think about what are the challenges for Rotary in this environment. When austerity is the name of the game, we have to do more with less. More and more of our people are struggling to survive, are struggling to get access to justice, are struggling to get the kinds of opportunities that we used to take for granted. What is it Rotary can do and be towards the future in that kind of environment? I think that's the challenge for us all going forward. And I'm reminded of something that the great jazz singer Nina Simone once said: honour yourself, because if you do that, you honour your community. If you honour your community, you honour your country. And if you honour your country, you will contribute to peace in the world. And isn't this what we do, Rotarian and non-Rotarian Paul Harris Fellows alike? It's a privilege to share this honour with you all and tonight. Thank you.